begin to wonder, do you think that at this point, with the population explosion that we're experiencing as a nation, is there any hope left in sight for Nigeria to begin to plan again? Or would you say it's too late? I'll start with you, Dr. Abimbola.
Well, it's not too late, but the greatest fear is that, are we even ready to go that way? Are we even ready to plan? Two issues. The existing plans we jettisoned, we didn't implement. So the governments, I'm not saying singular now, governments that failed, administrations that failed to implement or follow strictly the master plan, how do you expect the same set of people to plan for the future? We are not planning. Nigeria is very unfortunate, because if you look at what is happening, I attended the University of Ibadan. Let me give you the example of the University of Ibadan. The University of Ibadan was founded in 1948. There are some halls of residence, like Melambe Hall was built in 1951. Up to today, when you traverse the whole of the campus, vast as big as that campus is today, you will never see any single electricity pole. Those who planned it, it was underlaid.
Okay.
Everything was underground. Today, they are building, they are constructing, and they know all the master is on the before you do any construction in UI, you go to the master plan, you trace the electricity lines, and you connect. You don't just dig anyhow. Imagine Abuja that we built, Abuja that is now up to 40 years old. We are still erecting, we still erected some electricity posts, even in Abuja now.
Yes.
Everything ought to be planned. Abuja is the only city that was planned, but we are not implementing. And areas where the Europeans lived when they were colonizing us, Ikoyi, look at how Ikoyi was well planned. Ikoyi Gardens, it is this same military, when they came, that they cancelled it. They sold all the land, Ikoyi Gardens and Park, in those days. It is just showing us, it's not only the military. It's not only the military that bought or that destroyed this country, even the political class. So we don't really have selfless leaders. Look at the southwest of Nigeria. What the planning that the Awolowo people, Awolowo era, let me call it an era, in the western Nigeria. Look at the foundation they laid. We are still eating from it, but we are not maintaining. If you go to Ikale side, the rubber plant, go to Palm, go to all those things, all over up to Delta, Awolowo, they make sure that they plan for the future. The teak, we are still felling all these trees now. How many are we replacing? It's just showing the mindset of the average black man. Before I give my colleague to talk the chance, I read this morning, as of today, Lagos is the most populous city in Africa with 21.8 million residents. Lagos is followed by Cairo. So now, and the sad thing about the atlas.com that is giving us the figures, it says about 70 or 80% of those living in Lagos, they are living in slums. So that is just to tell you the gory picture we're having. But all hope is not lost. What we need is leadership that has the vision and is ready to do the right thing.
Okay, leadership that has the vision and is ready. You're smiling.
Definitely I have to smile, because everything rises and falls with leadership. Except you get the leadership right, you are not likely to see a country.
You've always said this on this program, that
yes.
It's about the leadership.
It's about
but
leadership.
like he also raised today, he raised the issue of followers, the fact that you have citizens who go and damage structures that were put in place for our own benefit and our own use. They go and vandalize and go. Are the followers not culpable as well?
Well, if you look at it,
looking at where we are today,
if you look at it at the face value, you will also want to apportion blame to the followers. Followership too could be indicted as far as this is concerned. But if you look at it very critically and fundamentally, you will see that the whole thing lies with leadership. Because leadership is the one that will hold the steering, that will steer the steer the ship of state to whatever direction that they wish. But if the leadership is bereft of idea, or is corrupt, or is inept, what you will see is all what you are seeing in Nigeria today. I can point to many countries in the world where leadership came in at critical point and changed the narrative. I continue to mention Singapore. Before Lee Kuan Yew got to Singapore in 1965, it was a third world country that was far, far, far way behind Nigeria. But immediately the man came in, despite the corruption, despite the everything that did not point to development that you could see in Singapore, that made Singapore to be the laughing stock in Asia. You will see a Lee Kuan Yew that came in and said, we are going to change the narrative. And he did promise that in less than 10 years, that Singapore will be a first world nation. And in just less than that 10 years, Singapore leaped from an underdeveloped country to one of the best 10 economies in the world. So what do you ascribe that to? It's leadership. And when you continue to say you want to indict the followership in Nigeria, I will always want to say no. Because if you are saying the followership is bad, what happens whenever an average Nigerian finds himself in the US or in the UK? He behaves very well. He follows all the rules. He follows all the nuances that are there. But whenever it's in Nigeria, there's nobody to regulate his activity. There's nobody to point the direction towards which he will follow to him. And by nature, every human being is intrinsically selfish, so to say. You want to grab anything he could to make sure that he lives well. But we should have a regulator that we say you cannot grab at the expense of the other person.
Like checkmating.
Like checkmating the excesses of that person. So if there's no checkmating of excesses, what you will always see is always akin to state of nature where life is nasty, brutish, and short.
Please, let me just add to that. I talked about leadership, and he also talked about leadership. He has given us an example from Asia. Let's come to Africa. Even Rwanda. Rwanda came in 1994, battered civil war, genocide, and so they had a foundation of corruption, of genocide, of mistrust, of ethnicity, name it. Somebody came in, and today everybody in Africa is running to Kigali. They want to go to Rwanda. That is leadership. Now, let's come to electricity. You are talking of followers. He has rightly put it. I have always believed that it is not the followers that we should blame in this country. It is the leaders. It is the leaders that have a name. It is the leaders that steer the ship. Then you follow. A leader leads. Followers follow. Followers don't lead the leader. So don't let us blame the followers. Now let me give you an example of this electricity. Is it the followers that privatized, so to say, the distribution phase of electricity in Nigeria to the effect that they sold it to companies, and the companies they sold it to, till today, citizens of Nigeria, landlords association, they buy the poles, they buy the cables, they maintain the transformer, any fault, they trace it, they fix it, and all those things they bought by the terms of privatization. Even after they had privatized, what everybody is still buying today, if you buy a pole, if you buy any cable, it belongs to a disco. And yet the discos are ineffective. And up till now, they have not been able to meter majority of Nigerians.
So you agree?
So is it the followers that we should blame for that, or the leaders? Those are the hems of affairs.
So you agree with Engineer Oyedele, who says that these Gencos as well as the discos have no financial and technical capacity.
They don't. They were done based on sentiment. And we cannot be going to the history. Some of them, immediately after they gave this, they ceded all these things to them, we knew the role they played, even during elections. So we cannot be talking here. My own take is that Nigeria, we don't really have political parties. That is why I hate mentioning parties. We have only one party in Nigeria. That is the party of the politicians. All others, they are just in colors. You wear PDP color, you wear APC color, SDP color. It's just the clothes. You can change your clothes anytime.
Still talking about leadership.
So the leadership is the political class. They have failed us.
Yes.
And our system has not been able to throw up credible leadership. That is really what we should interrogate. Our system.
All right. Still talking leadership. the political class, at some point in our lives as a nation, they came up with the need to privatize the telecom sector, and we are benefiting from it today.
Yes.
And then they tried to do the same thing with the power sector, but it seems not to be working.
The telecom sector you are talking about, look at those. What they did was to deregulate and allow people to come in. And those who came in, they had healthy competition. You know that foreigners were the first to come in. The current, I don't know whether it is still bearing, do you call them Airtel? I know it came in form of Econet. Even before Econet, there was one name, Vodacom, Econet, it was transmuting before MTN came. These are foreign. And when they came, but somebody from Nigeria also got the initiative and gave them a run for their money. That is Mike Adenuga with Globalcom. And so I don't want to believe that Nigerians don't have the capacity. It is because we didn't do our homework before we privatized the power sector. And the power sector we are talking about is not fully privatized, though, because we have the generation, the transmission, and the distribution. The transmission is still being managed by government. The generation, I don't know how you did it, the three phases. Phase 1 leads to phase 2. The first phase, you privatize. The second phase, you didn't. The third phase, you privatize. You can see that bureaucracy and corruption will still be talking. So these are the issues. So that we didn't do our homework very well. So we still have Nigerians and non-Nigerians who can invest in electricity. Not all these discos that they got it so cheap. That is my take, and that's why they are taking us for a ride.
Okay, and yet they're not able to deliver.
Yes, now.
All right. Also, one of the issues he raised is the need or no need for a national grid. Many players in that industry have said, okay, there's need to actually decentralize and ensure that each state fends for itself when it comes to power generation and transmission and distribution. However, he's saying that as a professional, there is need for a national grid. What's your take?
Definitely, whenever you are looking at any issue of development or anything that has to do with development or developing your economy, you have to look at what transpires at the international level. That is what we call international best practice. When you look at all the countries of the world that we can say are developed today, they have national grid. An example is the United States of America that has national grid. Except perhaps some state in the U.S. like the state of Texas that is not connected to national grid because they have enough muscle to be able to run on diesel and oil and whatever, because Texas is the hub of oil exploration in the U.S. But for other countries in Africa, Nigeria inclusive, national grid is good, it's essential, but at the same time, everything has to be decentralized in such a way that states can be active players. But when you look at the constitution of the country, that vested 68 items on the exclusive list, including power, to the constitution or to the exclusiveness of the state, we need to amend that constitution too for state to be able to come in. Because the way we are now, state cannot say they want to come in and be active player. They just have to make sure that the constitution allows for that. So this is one of the things we have been clamoring for, that we need to have enabling environment that will be hinged on restructuring the country based on constitutional amendment, so that many states can dabble into many things that hitherto the constitution had not allowed them to dabble into. Then we need to look at what we call corruption-free environment whenever you want to be doing things that are aimed towards the development of the country. Over time, it is a thing that every Nigerian knows that corruption has been the bane of the operation of even the power sector, just like the downstream sector. And these two sectors are very vital to the growth of the economy of Nigeria. But we still see corruption taking place. Just like Dr. Abimbola said the other time, when telecommunication came in and they were bidding, they had no choice. They have to give to companies that had names, because it was new in Nigeria. They didn't have cronies. They didn't. Cronies that they could say, okay, come and bid, we lower the terms and conditions for you. No. That's why you could see MTN, Econet coming in the first instance, and they were able to set the template that other people could follow. And when Globalcom, that had the financial giant, also saw that Econet and MTN, they were thriving, they too came in with maximum capital and with maximum technology that they deployed. But in the case of discos that we have, I mean, they just sold to cronies, people that were fronting for them, not minding the fact that these people may not have the capacity, they may not have the technological know-how to do it, but because they are their cronies, they sold to them. And since those, since those ones that they sold to for the past, since 2013, yes, they've not been able to meet the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians as far as improvement in power generation, distribution, and transmission is concerned. So that is the bane we have in Nigeria. So let transparency come into play on the part of those that are in the helm of affairs, so that we can have
aside transparency, one of the key areas he talked about is the fact that we need to open the doors to investors, to come into the power sector.
Yes, when we say we need to open the door for investors to come in, either portfolio investors or people that are coming into that sector to come and invest, they too, they don't just bring in their capital and know how and say they just want to invest. They have to look at
the environment,
the enabling environment, the extant laws that are in operation in guiding this. Are they in proper perspectives such that if they come, they will not lose their investment? Will they be able to compete with people that are not meeting up with what is expected of them and are being protected by some powerful interest? So these are the things we have to look into. Except there is transparency, except anybody can come and see an environment that is level. If the environment is not level, it's not a level playing ground, you will not want to move in your resources and say you want to go and compete. Before you know it, you will see a shark eating a tilapia, even despite. So that is the bane of corruption and coming into an environment where there is no a level playing ground.
Yes, if we look at it critically again, you will see that just we were discussing behind the camera before we started this program. We said Nigeria is not a serious country. It's very, it's not, it pains to say this. Now, we cannot protect our power lines. So that is why we cannot also protect our transmission lines. Because what caused this latest one was the vandalization at Odepani near Ikotekpene. So in between Cross River and Akwa Ibom states. So that made the thing to collapse. Now, are you telling me that Globalcom, MTN, Airtel, name them, are you telling me that they don't also have their own stations? Are they not policing their equipment and their property? Are they not? So, how many times did you hear that they have vandalized this thing? If you want to privatize, if you want to go food regulation, go there. Let us have it. Now, for example, if you give a company and you say, okay, 3 or 4 companies to be generating. I'm not in that sector, so I'm just talking as a layman. Yeah. But from informed opinion, I know that these things work. Now, these are the people that will be generating. Then you talk of transmission and distribution, and you don't just say transmission will be centrally coordinated. So you can have, that was what Engineer Ife was trying to say, that have a loop, that even when you generate, if you are transmitting, decentralized the way you are transmitting, so that everything will not be going out from the same source at the same time. So that if something happens at one gas station, it will not affect everybody. You understand what I mean now? So if you do that, because what we are having, and we Nigerians, we are the ones paying for this inefficiency. In fact, majority of Nigerians are not still metered, and still they collect money from them. And even the discos, their officials are also corrupt. That some of the money don't even get to the discos. They end up in the private pockets because they have seen this thing as, free corruption market. These are the issues we are talking about. So if we are able to, is it not an irony that we say we don't have sufficient gas to power the stations, yet we are flaring? I mean, gas is being flared every day. Get to Obiaruku there, get to Delta State before you even go to the hinterland, to Warri, to whatever. You will see, and these things are even injurious to the health of an ordinary person. Their gas is being flared every day. It is because we are not yet serious. Government has no business in business. That is the truth. Government cannot, as far as Nigeria is concerned, for now, government cannot run any business successfully. I even want to suggest that all the three phases, from generation to transmission and distribution, should be privatized and let people come in. That means, just like my brother was saying, that means you have to, the environment, you have to tinker with the initial arrangement, privatization you did, and agreement you did. Otherwise, new investors will not be able to come in. And now, let's give example. BEDC is distributing to Edo, Ekiti, Ondo, and whatever, some states. And now, you now want somebody to come in. Which area are you going to give him? He must know where he is covering. Then if you are transmitting, you must know where you are transmitting to. If you are generating, you must have, okay, we give you, be generating 1,500 megawatts, or be generating 800 megawatts. Then you have capacity. We give you 2,000 megawatts, and you have all these things around. Nigeria is still generating, in the last 30 years, we are still hovering around 2,000 and 4,000 megawatts. Is it not a shame? South Africa has in hundreds of thousands of megawatts, and South Africa population is not up to 1/3 of Nigeria's population, or 1/4 self. This is what we are talking about.
All right. One of the issues you also raised is the issue of duplication of ministries, agencies. Then we gave a case study of where CBN is building power plant, and then NNPC is doing the same thing. How do we begin to harmonize these different various agencies? And especially because it's not just that angle, not just in the power sector, in other sectors as well. We have the ICPC, we have the EFCC, duplication of functions, as we see it. How do we begin to address that issue? However, noting that we have workers working in all of this ministry, wouldn't we be compounding our...
That is where we are missing the point. I think it is leadership. When we have the right leader will know how to sort things out. I don't want to believe how many workers do they have in these areas that is going to now, because of the few workers, you want to jeopardize the interest. And if you have good leadership, it's not even going to end up that you just ask those workers to go home. You can deploy them to other sectors now. The truth is that we have the Ministry of Power. So is NNPC a subsidiary of the Ministry of Power? No. Is CBN a subsidiary of the Ministry of Power? No. So what is that? Even CBN is biting off more than it can chew. CBN has turned itself to a government. It's a bank. It's to regulate the financial sector. Do you know what CBN is doing? CBN is investing in Agric. CBN has taken over the function of the Ministry of Agric, the Ministry of Water Resources, the Ministry of Power, the Ministry of Petroleum. CBN is doing almost everything. All these things are shrouded in corruption and inefficiency. So what we should be talking about is that let's have a leader who will be able to streamline and say, I want to do the right thing. If you want to merge EFC, or also a panel had given us a template from the time of, I think from Jonathan era. That was when also the panel was in place. Up till now, the Jonathan government, the Buhari government, the panel report is just gathering dust. No government is ready to do the right thing. And the also a panel has already given the government the leeway of those who could be affected in the harmonization. But government is not ready to do the right thing. We are just, I don't know.
Why do you think we will not want to do the right thing?
We are not ready. We may want to, but we are not ready. If we are ready, we'll see his action now. It is not talk.
Well, I want to believe that when you see duplication of duties by different government agencies, it just goes to show lack of what I will call how will I now put it? They do not have faith in those other agencies that they are duplicating their functions. That is the way I see it. Because if you see the Central Bank of Nigeria...
Not just that some few persons want to benefit from it.
It could be part of it anyway, but it's because of the fact that they do not have faith in them. That is why they believe that let them do it by themselves.
Okay.
And that will spell doom as far as the growing of the economy is concerned, because ab initio they were not trained to be doing that. And before you know it, there will be a kind of policy overlap, on the side of the 2 or 3 agencies that are doing the same thing, that will be clashing, and it will not augur well for the development of the country. By and large, I want to believe that every malady must have a remedy. How do we get out of this multiplicity of problems and challenges that we have, especially in the sector of electricity? I believe, as I said earlier, that the constitution must be amended and the state government are given power to be able to generate. During the Obasanjo regime, there was this company that was called Enron. They came to Lagos with a very fine blueprint for them to start generating electricity in Lagos State alone. And the implication of that was that they will generate, they will distribute as well. But the federal government felt that it was their function then, that how could we state government be coming up with that kind of idea? But if that had been allowed to fly then, many states would have been able to see that as a template and begin to copy it.
One would agree with you that it could fly in Lagos.
It could fly.
Would you think that other states will have the financial muscle to actually...
It's not, sorry, Dr. Imbola, it's not about the financial muscle of the state itself. It's about the leadership of that state. It's about the vision of whoever the governor of that state is. I'm sure that a state like Rivers State will have been able to copy Lagos and successfully come out with what I will call seamless generation and distribution. States like Akwa Ibom too will have been able. Then don't forget the fact that if a state wants to go into competition with another state and has seen that this is succeeding in another state, they will approach people outside the shores of this country that have the technical know-how, that have the capital even, and come into partnership, and they will be able to do it. Recently, I was watching a kind of documentary in China. They call that place the Guangdong district in China. Do you see what they were doing there? They were generating electricity in that region, a city, so to say. What they did was, it could be, we could say it could be anachronistic if you want to look at it from the point of view of Nigeria now or any other, but they don't mind. China doesn't mind whatever they can use to get it done. So they built something like a very big port. Then water was taken into that port, and there was a kind of opening that the water will be coming out from that port that will be rolling the alternator, a very giant alternator. The essence of that alternator is to get rolled, and the pressure of the water that was coming from that place was rolling it, and the alternator, was supplying the entire city. I mean, if you see a state government that wants to do that in Nigeria now, the federal government will point it to you that, hey, you cannot do it, because under the constitutional provision of the country, power belongs exclusively to the federal government. So if you see a state doing it and another state intends to do it, it depends on the scope, it depends on the focus of the governor that is ready to do. Don't forget the fact that a time was when Jigawa State was coming up with clean energy, that is solar energy. No state in Nigeria could rival that state then, but the moment that governor left, the other governor that came in was no longer interested, and the thing collapsed. So we should allow individuals to come into play so that they attract foreign investors, so that they go into synergy with other people that have the technological know-how and the capital. Before you know it, there will be massive competition everywhere, and it is the consumer that will be the ultimate beneficiary of such.
Please, I just want to buttress his point. Now, you said if Lagos State has the capacity, what of other states? We don't need to wait till all other states have the capacity. Do you know that Lagos and Ogun states alone, those two states, the kind of electricity, the percentage of the electricity they consume, of the electricity we consume in Nigeria, that state, those two states alone, because of the heavy industries, or because of that is the most industrialized in Nigeria. They consume nothing less than, it will be up to 20% of the entire thing we consume. Imagine that is taken off from the pressure of the national grid. Imagine. So you will see that you will now have more to transmit and more to distribute to other states. Among the rest. That is just one. Two, the entire northeast. If you have been to Bauchi, if you have been to Adamawa, if you have been to Gombe, if you have been to, even including Taraba, I'm talking of the northeastern state, Bauchi, Taraba, Gombe, Adamawa, Borno, Yobe. They are, in fact, in most times of the year, especially dry season, they have not less than 18 hours of sunlight. 18 hours. As early as 5:30 a.m., it's already daybreak. And by around 6:30, the sun is already out. And sun does not set sometimes until 7:30 or 8 p.m., 8 in the evening. And yet we are here talking. I said, we are not serious. So what is the greatest raw material for solar energy? Is it not sunlight? Yeah, sunlight. So you can excuse the solar thing from the south. What of the north? Those 6 days, I know them where I've been there and have slept, all those days. I know that early in the morning, 5:30, the day has broken. 5, the day has broken. By 6, the sun is already up. And yet, we are still talking national grid. Everybody is depending on the centralized national grid. So our areas of comparative advantage, that is what state governments should be looking at. But before that can happen, we have to tinker with our structure of governance. And that is why this unitary system we are running, and we are deceiving ourselves that we are running a federal system. This is where it is leading us. It cannot take us to our destination.
So you're taking us back to the need for restructuring.
Of course. There is no begging the issue. That is the ultimate.
He's smiling because he's an advocate of the need for restructuring. All right, let's talk more about the need for clean energy. The fact that the entire world is talking about climatic change, the changes, and everybody's saying we need to let go of fossil fuel and move on to cleaner sources of energy. Do you see us as a nation prepared for that move?
It's not a matter of whether we are prepared or not. That is the ultimate destination for every nation on earth.
So whether we decide to realize it or not.
Exactly. Because if you look at the ozone layer itself, it's getting depleted by the day because of the emission of carbon monoxide that comes out of fossil fuel every now and then. So a lot of countries too are, designing alternatives. They have the shale in the United States, and many other countries of the world too, they are going green by depending on solar. Just like Dr. Abimbola did say, if you go to most parts of the country in the north, we have abundant sunlight, and I wonder why we are not taking advantage of this. Just like I mentioned, Jigawa the other time, that time that they laid out all their solar panels, it was even a beauty to behold when you get to some of their cities. But I wonder why another governor came and decided not to follow suit. But if other governors in Nigeria and other stakeholders too that are trying to be players in the electricity or power distribution generation in the country look at the alternative of solar, everybody will benefit. Although it's costlier. They want to believe it's costlier. But as I said, we do not have any option than to begin to embrace that now. Because today, as a result of the fact that we don't have enough electricity in Nigeria, a lot of people depend on generators. And the fumes that come out of generator, it's only health experts that can tell you the implication of what
of the noise pollution,
noise pollution and everything.
The damage is doing to our eardrum.
Yes, that is from the health angle. So let us embrace clean energy. That is the ultimate.
I say we are not serious. What does it take? I mentioned the 6 northeastern states, for example. Jigawa is in the northwest. I know they also have, plenty hours of sunlight. But northeast, they are ahead of us in terms of sunlight. Southwest states, we have done development. We are Western Nigerian. Development agenda for Western Nigeria. Now, if maybe we have Northeast Development Commission. So what is that commission doing? It's not one state that should do it. It's capital intensive. We know. That is a federal agency. Then the states, can't they collaborate and do something for their people? But all the same, it is this structure, this unitary structure we are running. I mean, it's a fertile ground for corruption and inefficiency. That's just the problem. So we need to do something. My own prayer is that God, please give us leaders. In 2023, give us leaders who will be selfless to the extent of restructuring this country. There is strength in we remaining together. I don't have any problem with that. But we cannot continue. We are not really together. We are just patching it. But we can remain together if we restructure and get ourselves right that, okay, there is no viable federal government where resources are taken to the center and shared. In any federal system, the federating units, they control their resources and they pay revenue to the center in form of tax. But here, we gather everything, take to Abuja, governors go with their plates for the handout every month.
Okay.
So that is why the Jigawa person can afford to throw the project of his predecessor overboard, because the handout will still come from Abuja at the end of every month.
All right, let's talk about power failure in Ondo, coming home now, especially in the Southern Senatorial District, where for over 10 years the people have been in utter darkness. But from what Engineer Ifeoyedele was saying right today, he was saying that all the structures are already in place and there's hope for the people, that soonest it will be a thing of the past. What's your take on it?
Yes, thank you for that beautiful question. I'm from Ondo South, and for over 14 years now, the entire 6 local government, except perhaps Ileoluji, Okeibo, the remaining 5 local governments have been in darkness for 15 solid years. And Engineer Ifeoyedele was right when he said it, that a lot of things have been put in place. But the most expedite action, I know this thing is beyond the state government, truth be told, it's beyond the state government, but at the same time, let all the stakeholders in the state know that that place is an integral part of Ondo State, and let us quickly do it, because they were saying that the light will be on December last year. Again, they push it to January that it will be on. We are in April now. We only pray that this thing does not extend to the end of this year again. I know that a lot of good poles are being erected now, and they are connecting to Omotosho power grid. They are doing all those things. But the things that led to vandalization in the first instance, we have to be proactive in making sure that we put a lot of surveillance in place to make sure that we do not have a repeat of vandalization that took place, such that cables, in kilometers were carted away and nobody could trace where these vandals came from. So we need to put something in place that we act as a kind of surveillance at all times to make sure that these things are intact. Then I still want to appeal to community leaders too, that they should cooperate with government. Because you cannot just be saying that you are fed up or that you are not happy about the situation. If anything has happened, it is solution that we should be looking for. We just have to show enough synergy with government now. We just have to show enough seriousness as far as wanting to go into relationship with government is concerned, so that we can make sure that light comes up there. Because if we get there now, a lot of youth that are supposed to be in their barbing salon, that are supposed to be fabricating one thing or the other, the only thing they do is Okada riding. Because there's nothing for them to do. Any larger people, yes, that is just it.
Sorry, please, on that, on those South, thank God he is from there. Even those of us who are not from there, we are also feeling the heat. We have our people living there as well, and it's not just an integral part. In fact, is the port, because we are an oil producing state. Okay. How do we become an oil producing state? Is there any oil in Akoko or or whatever in Akure? Is it not from that area? So now the government. Sorry, we must also commend on those state government for the effort it has made. But I know that there are many conditions. Some well-meaning individuals and some residents of that community, they have contributed money. But it is still this inefficiency that we are talking about. The BEDC is also giving them stringent conditions. You have somebody had not had light for over a decade, and you are still saying the old debt, they must pay everything. In fact, these are some of the issues we say that we don't have option in Nigeria.
We've really run out of time. Let's talk about maintenance culture, which is one of the issues you also raised.
Yes,
some of the gadgets, infrastructure we have in the power sector are obsolete, and then you just talked about, agreed with what he said, that you've seen the structures, everything has been put in place for power to, come to that area. In terms of maintenance, do you think the people would really be willing to, and then the role of government as well, quickly?
The role of government will be minimal now, because government is not the owner of the discos as we speak. But I think there are two major stakeholders: the beneficiaries, the communities, yes, and the discos. In my own street in Akure, they vandalized. Because the question we'll be asking is that if we have efficiency, if we have a good system with technology, there is no cable that is carted away. Maybe they are going to be sold somewhere. If they are if they are well marked, you understand. Once you buy a cable, you apply it. If they are well marked, there are watertight security features that cannot be removed from those cables. Anywhere they want to sell them, they will discover. I say we are not a serious country. Now, what we should do is that in my own street, I'm not using it in my own community. What we did was to have a surveillance 24 hours on the transformer.
Okay.
Nobody there goes there now because we knew.
That's coming from the community.
Yes, we knew how much we suffered. So on those South people, they should be prepared, and everybody in Nigeria should be prepared to also, since we don't have efficiency, we should be our own. We should put our destiny in our hands.
I think the Minister of Power was saying that investigation is already ongoing regarding this last.
Well, we don't have faith in any investigation of government now, because the inefficiency of government does not allow any investigation to fly. This year, look at how many months we suffered the fuel scarcity. And the government told us that adulterated fuel was imported to the country. Investigation was set up, even both at the executive and the legislative levels. What has come out of it? And just like other investigations.
So you think it will be swept under the carpet as well?
Well, I want to believe that it will still be swept under the carpet. But let us continue to hope that people will be more proactive in the way they do things now. Because even the cable that he did mention, they take this cable to certain places to sell.
Mm-hmm. To sell.
Yeah,
so let's be more responsible for the infrastructures put in place for our own good and for our own use. Thank you so much, Mr. Dicey Adetarami, publisher and social affairs commentator. Thank you once again for coming on The Big Issue.
My pleasure to be here.
Many thanks to you as well, Dr. Gbenga Abimbola. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, in Nigeria, it shall be well.
It shall be well. We can only hope that you and I will continually be responsible for the actions and inactions that we take in this nation. We could only hope that things will be better for us all. Till we come your way same time next week, I am Obi Chukwemeka Oti saying bye for now.